Pigtronix started getting into digital design back in 2005 with the original Ecolution delay pedal. And then we moved into the world of looping in 2010. And throughout the whole history of Pigtronix's developing analog and digital guitar pedals, I've always wanted to tackle creating a reverb. But I wanted to make a really, really special, excellent sounding one that had some unique musical features that was not like everybody else's reverb. So ultimately we were chasing a sound the whole time. And it just simply took this long to create a sound that I felt was unique enough, smooth enough, and compelling enough to be Pigtronix's reverb debut. Cosmosis represents a new chapter for Pigtronix. This is our high-fidelity, stereo, ambient reverb pedal, featuring 3 completely unique algorithms for 3 distinct reverb spaces: theater, temple, and cosmos. Theater is a variable room reverb, which can get as small as being inside a concrete football and about as large as an indoor tennis court. It ranges from cozy and warm to highly reflective, offering a range of vintage-inspired studio reverb sounds. Temple is a large, dramatic indoor space. It offers rich, balanced reverb that conjures a sense of cinematic drama, if you will. Temple can be used subtly, or you can crank it way up for an epic, long reverb associated with Gothic cathedrals or underground caves. The Cosmos space is ultimately the reason we designed this pedal. It's an enormous space that reverberates only the harmonic information from your instrument signal. Rather than relying on artificial octave shifting to create a harmonically informed pad, the Cosmos space offers a gleaming, beautiful spectrum of hi-fi reverb that shadows the harmonics of what you're playing without any glitchy pitch shifting or other artifacts in the way. And if those 3 spaces weren't enough, we had a vision to create something completely unique in the world of reverb with this pedal. And that is its ability to morph between 2 different sets of reverb parameters. Within any given space, players can dial in 2 different sounds, a red sound and a green sound, and then morph between those sounds in real time. We worked on this pedal for years, and breakthrough after breakthrough, we kept refining and reaching so that we could offer one of the finest sounding and coolest digital reverb pedals ever made.
So we started with impulse response references: the First Baptist Church in Nashville, an underground cave in northern England, and a few others. But then we began tweaking those so that they really fit what we were imagining. We played around with sound design for months before we even had the foundational sounds that we were looking for. And from there, it was all about how do we make this as versatile as possible, all while sticking with our #1 design principle: no bad sounds. So we spent an extremely long time on how each knob sweeps. When should you feel the reverb versus when you hear the reverb? When should it become more of a featured effect than an embellishment, etc.? The blend knob alone has an incredibly complicated and specific sweep to it that we worked on for months. With the morphing function, we knew we had something special right away. But it wasn't until we had a few realizations that it really came into its own. The first was, when you initiate a morph, it should automatically oscillate between the 2 reverb sounds that you set, rather than just traverse from one to the other only one time. And that opened up a world of constant motion. Slow morphing for subtle, transformative tone, and faster morphing for tremolo-like movement or panning effects in stereo too.
About 10 years ago, we devised the original concept for the Cosmosis space. The idea was to create a spectral reverb that could function as an ambient pad, creating sound everywhere. Music of the spheres, if you will, running in real time via super fast algorithm. The first step in the sound design process was to write a module of code that functioned as a reverberator that could give us unity gain in and out. When the energy is the same at the input and the output, then you don't get unwanted color in the sound. This means no notching or flanging or other unwanted artifacts. Just super smooth reverb. This initial reverb module was written in such a way that it could be used as a building block and stacked in different arrangements, run in series or parallel. Using this approach, we were able to create unique combinations of these modules that led to our foundational reverb structures you hear in the Cosmosis pedal. At the core of this machine is a fast 32-bit CPU that uses floating point math to help keep the reverb tails ultra smooth. We did the sound design initially on a PC computer, then we spec'd the hardware for the pedal. Then we completely rewrote the code to work in pedal form. This process of optimization resulted in a set of code that runs about 40 times faster than the original. The Cosmos algorithm creates a fantasy space using fancy mathematics. A reverb is essentially thousands of discrete echoes that occur within a relatively short amount of time. In order to ensure maximum spreading out of the audio without allowing these individual points to pile up on top of each other, all of the reflections in our Cosmos algorithm are co-prime. This method of distributing the reflections via varying delay lengths creates an amazing pad effect that captures the harmonics of the music you play into it. An enhanced stereo field effect and a general sense of motion is then achieved by treating the audio in both left and right channels as positions on a 2D plane and then rotating the audio around that plane. In addition to using guitar loops, all of the reverb sounds we developed were tested with traditional string instruments, drum loops, human voice, and even gunshots. We cannot wait to hear what players do with Cosmosis. We gave one of our first final prototypes to Kurt Rosenwinkel while he was in upstate New York for the Alternative Guitar Summit and asked him to improvise a score for the landscape around him. And as expected, he conjured up something very special.